Party people, welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the actual play RPG podcast where the gaming table is always set for two. I'm your host as always, Jeff Stormer, and this week I am joined by Nikki Boylan for a game of Haunted. Haunted is a two-player game for one GM and one ghost, in which a player plays the role of a ghost, someone who is trapped on this world after death due to unfinished business. Their only recourse is to guide the emotions and the actions of people around them to hopefully settle their last bit of business so that they can once and for all rest in peace. It's a really great game. I really love how it works. I love the mechanics. I love the story. I love the mood and ambiance of it. I was a huge fan of it. I'm really glad we got to play it, and I think you're really going to dig it. You can find more information about Haunted in the show notes. Nikki is a member of Infinity Break Studios and the GM of Legends of Laia, a 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons actual play podcast about a continent torn in half by a dark abyss filled with monsters. The darkness has begun to spill out of the gash. The heroes are tasked with maintaining the balance that holds this fractured world together. I really like Legends of Laia. I think it's a really dope show. I think it's doing some really cool and interesting things, and I think you should absolutely check it out. You can find more information about Legends of Laia as well in the show notes. They also run other gaming events for the Infinity Break Twitch channel, including last month they ran a Hotel California themed Cthulhu Dark Horror one-shot, which fucking ruled. It was so dope. It was very, very cool. I mean, obviously I am biased because I love Hotel California, and I love horror, and I love Hotel California used as horror fodder, so like, I was kind of the target audience, but like, it was really, really good, and like, I can't recommend it enough. You can watch that in like their Twitch archive. I can't like go watch it because it was great, and I really think that you'll dig it. That you can find at twitch.tv/InfinityBreakGaming or as well in the show notes. And lastly, a real quick note before we dive in that this episode is sponsored by our friends at Encounter Party. Encounter Party is an audio adventure podcast featuring 6 professional voice actors battling their way through an epic Dungeons & Dragons campaign, all edited down to focus strictly on the story. And a real quick note before we dive in that this episode is sponsored by the Encounter Party podcast, friends of the show, an audio adventure podcast featuring 6 professional voice actors battling their way through an epic D&D campaign edited down to focus strictly on the story, all thriller, no filler, wonderful show made by wonderful friends, wonderful people. It is set inside the Magic the Gathering realm of Ravnica. It's dope. You should check it out. I really love it. You'll really love it. Encounter Party was recently featured on the front page of sci-fi.com as it got really high praise there. Nerdist has called it a critical hit. It's got praise behind it. It's got my seal of approval. You should go listen to it. I really like it. It's got 2 seasons available. The 3rd is releasing this fall. It is a great time to dive into the show. If you enjoy fantasy epics, top-notch voice acting, actual play podcasting, check out Encounter Party wherever you listen to podcasts. And for more party favors, head to encounterparty.com. And on that note, let's throw it over to me in the past so that he can get started with the show. Take it past me. Thanks, future me. This week, I am so excited to be sitting down with Nikki Boylan. Nikki, thanks so much for coming on Party of One.
Well, thank you for having me.
So, real quick, at the top of the show, before we dive into some real fun, real spooky action, why don't you take a moment and let the lovely listeners at home know about anything you've got going on that you might want the audience at home to know about?
Sure. I am the Associate Content Director of Infinity Break, where we are telling stories our own way. I have my own live-streamed D&D campaign that happens every other Sunday. In fact, this upcoming Sunday, we're going to be playing. And so that's my own homebrewed campaign. Pretty much everything is homebrewed. And so we have a lot of fun with that. Very creative endeavor there. And then on August 16th, I'm running a Cthulhu Dark one-shot based off of Hotel California. So that's going to be really fun.
That's real exciting. Here's the thing, like, anytime somebody is doing a horror thing based on Hotel California, it is always good. So that is very exciting to hear.
I feel like it had to have been written with like a ghost story in mind, right? There's no way they were just like, oh, there's nothing supernatural about this.
It's a weird story about like a cult, and then there's they chase an animal with knives, and then he's there forever. Like, that's a ghost story.
Yeah, it has to be.
That feels like a good segue into the game that we're playing, because, like, that is straight up, like, a haunted house story of, like, I arrived at this place, and then there was a creepy lady, and then suddenly I'm there forever, and I'm in hell, maybe?
Maybe it's heaven, or maybe it's hell, I don't know, haven't decided yet.
It's, I could talk about the supernatural implications for the Hotel California for a very long time, but we have a game to play this week, so we'll have to table that for now. Only because otherwise it will go on for an hour. So this week we are playing Haunted. Haunted is a 2-player game for 1 GM and 1 ghost. The premise in a nutshell is that you are a ghost. Your goal is to move on. You died somehow. There is something keeping you here, and you are inhabiting a space that is about to also be inhabited by a variety of people. My goal as GM is I am going to bring people into that space. You are going to observe them and watch their emotional states. You're going to kind of watch them for moments when they show sorrow, fear, or anger. And then as you see that, you're going to collect dice. You're going to use those dice to try and do hauntings, do ghost things. And hopefully, between the two of us, we will work out why your ghost is here and why you can't move on, and hopefully we can help your ghost move on. That is sort of our shared goal this evening. So why don't we take a moment? Why don't you, since this is a question, so there's a bunch of questions that you've privately answered for yourself, such as how did you die? Why have you moved on? When can you be seen? What do you look like? All of these are questions that you have the answers to, but I don't at this moment. One question I'd like for you to answer on mic is, where are you trapped? And like, what is the scene of our supernatural haunting?
Sure. So it's a cabin in the woods, basically. A 2-story building in the depths of the woods. It's been abandoned for about 50 years now and has started to fall into disrepair. It's probably popular with urban explorers, that kind of aesthetic to it. The doors are falling off the hinges. The cobblestone road leading up to it is overgrown with moss and grass and nature. It's starting to fall in on itself, and it has a very eerie vibe to it.
I love it, and I love it. You gave me that pitch, and I immediately sat for about 2 seconds and went, I know exactly who is pulling up to this house, and that is the first thing that we see as our story opens, is 3 cars pull up to this cabin in the woods. 3 cars pull up, and out of the first of them, one person hops out. He is older, middle-aged, wearing a kind of leather suit jacket type look, dress shirt underneath, blue jeans, is talking on a phone, and is like loudly starts walking over to the second car and kind of like bangs on the hood a little bit. And four younger people come out and start carrying bags and like large, heavy looking suitcase bags, and they are starting to carry it like towards the cabin. And then like after a moment of this kind of commotion and, you know, banging on the hood and sort of pointing people in directions and people kind of distributing bags amongst themselves, an older woman steps out of the third car. She is wearing like a business suit and a gray trench coat and kind of quietly steps out. It's kind of a gray, cloudy morning, right? Like peak horror movie opening scene weather.
Right, naturally. Yeah.
And she kind of steps out and like watches all of this unfold. Her shoulders kind of sag. She rolls her eyes, and the man in the jacket kind of walks over and pats her on the shoulder and says, Marcia, this is going to be great. This is going to be every bit as good as season 1. I promise you. And like walks off as she kind of like rolls her eyes again and goes into the back of her truck or her car, like this tiny little kind of like Honda Fiat type car, goes into the back, grabs like a big kind of camping backpack that kind of clashes with her very professional looking like raincoat, trench coat. And everybody starts to like carry in their equipment towards the cabin.
I'm gonna be famous.
You're gonna be famous. So here is where we get into the first part of the game, which is witnessing. You are a ghost. You can always witness the world around you. When you witness the world, you may ask any of the following questions, and I have to answer honestly. Where am I? Who do I see? What does blank hope for right now? Who does blank trust or rely on here? Who feels most confident here, and who harbors a secret here? I have to answer any of those questions honestly. You can ask me any other question, but I don't have to answer those if I don't want to. But you are a ghost. This is your space. You are free to kind of explore. The people kind of fill the house. Marcia, the older woman, immediately kind of like heads towards, I'm guessing kind of upstairs where kind of like the bedroom areas are.
Yeah.
She kind of like scopes out a bedroom. The four younger people, two of them like significantly younger than the others, probably no older than like 18, 19, are both like carrying these big bags and like look like they've been handed the illustrious job of lugging in luggage. As like a slightly older woman, maybe like 22, 23, is like kind of like walking around snapping photos with like a big DSLR camera. Chaz, I'm just naming him as Chaz because I feel like the Chaz energy is apparent.
Oh, yes.
Chaz is still on the phone and is like looking for a place to like take this phone call quietly and privately as he continues to like point at folks like, move that there. No. We need that in an open space. Oh, all right. Well, I'm hold on. Give me 1 second. I need to finish. I need to finish setting this up, and then we'll continue the conversation. Okay. All right. That's fine. Just put it there. We'll deal with it. Okay. And like he's clearly like trying to direct this whole ordeal while also finding a space to continue the phone call that he is actively on at this moment. So where does your ghost go, and what do you witness?
All right. Well, it's not very often that this many people are in my space at one time. In fact, I don't think it's happened since before my death. Mostly it's just one or two people at a time and very sparingly. And I've never seen equipment like this before. And I am very fascinated by the lady in the trench coat entering my bedroom. Because I was just sitting here looking out the window, minding my own business. Right,
and now someone is in your space.
Now someone's in my space. So I will ask, who does Marcia trust or rely on here?
Marcia quietly. I think the first thing you see is Marcia like walks into the bedroom. She looks at the bed that's in the room and kind of like shudders for a moment and goes like, absolutely not, and starts to take out like a sleeping bag.
I'm like ghostly insulted.
That's fair. So this is the first moment that I'm going to give you a dice, but I'm also going to put something in your world going forward, which is you're going to be collecting dice as you witness things. Mm-hmm. I'm going to kind of leave it entirely up to you. You can kind of call freely when you spot any of these emotions. If you spot anger, you can collect a red die. If you spot sorrow, you can collect a black die. And if you spot fear, you can collect a white die. So I'm going to go ahead and say probably take a white die because she is visibly like unnerved at this bed that possibly is haunted. So go ahead and take a white die for some fear there.
All right. Have my white die.
All right. And so she kind of like sits and that like the younger one of the younger people who hasn't been setting things up kind of pops their head in, and she kind of smiles at them and says, "Oh, hey Ricky, is everything going well downstairs?" And they kind of perk up a little bit and they're like, yeah, Tyler and Kevin, they're doing their setup thing. They're just, it's mainly about finding a good recording space. But I that's kind of my job. That's my whole thing. And she's like, yeah, no, you're real good at that, Ricky. She kind of pauses for a moment and looks at them and says, so this is a stunt, right? Like this is meaningless, right? And they kind of sag a little bit and they're like, look, Chaz, he figured if there was a chance for better download numbers in season 2, we kind of had to take it. And she's just like, starts kind of like mumbling about like, it wasn't about this in season 1. It was about telling stories. It was about like exploring questions. It wasn't about stunts and, oh, we're living in a haunted house and talking to people. Like, we're not a 2-bit. I'm a professional. I'm not a 2-bit Blair Witch Project maker recorder. And Ricky kind of stops and they kind of lean in. They're like, yeah, well, this is the business. This is podcasting. This is what we got to do. Just, you know, if you need to blow up, do it at me, because, you know, it's what I'm here for.
Ricky.
I feel bad for Ricky. I love Ricky and I want to protect Ricky. And they just kind of like stand back up and they kind of like pat her a little bit on the shoulder, and she smiles and like continues kind of laying out her sleeping bag and takes out a picture of her family and rests it on a dresser. Forgot the word dresser for a second, and that's a word that I shouldn't forget. Puts a picture of a family on a dresser and kind of like lays out some things, puts down a tape recorder and like a few other just like accoutrements as she kind of like spreads it around the bedroom, because this is going to be, it seems like, your shared space for a little while.
Yay, roommates.
Roommates. So I think that answers your question of who does she trust and rely on here, and that's going to be Ricky, the sound designer.
She likes Ricky, the sound designer. He is a sound designer.
They are a sound designer.
They are a sound designer. All right, so we have Marcia, and then Ricky, the sound designer, and then Chaz, the guy on the phone.
Yes. Would you like to take any dice for that scene?
There's probably some sorrow there. She feels, and Ricky, it feels like they've lost the feeling. Like when they started out with the show, it was originally to be genuine, and she feels that that's no longer what they're doing.
I'll buy that. Go ahead and take 2 black dice.
And if possible, I'd like to follow Ricky downstairs. I'm going to catch a ride on their sound equipment.
I love that. With the camera, we do one of those kind of Evil Dead camera shots where like you thought like the camera is like the sound equipment back, or like duffel bag. Yeah. And so we follow it down the stairs and they kind of check in and they're like, this is Tyler, Kevin, Chaz is gonna try and tell you this isn't the best place, probably because the ambiance is wrong. You know how he is. This is the best space. It's quiet. It is a contained space. There's a lot of stuff around. They're in probably, I'm gonna say, like a den or like a study. It's one of those areas. So there's big armoires and there's dressers and there's a bunch of like stuff, right? Like this is one of the big couches. This is a room with a lot of things in it. And so they're like, this is fine. Just set up the stuff here. And Tyler and Kevin both look at each other like, yeah, all right. No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, all right. If we do that, can we take a break? Can we go get some food in the city? And they kind of like, yeah, we'll go get food in the city. We'll take a lunch break. You've been working for half an hour. Like wanders off.
So so I'm in the study area now.
Yeah, and they have set up like a little desk with a microphone, pop screen, like the whole kind of recording setup. There's some headphones lying around, and like this table with all of this equipment connected to a computer with a little station for Ricky to sit at and like pay attention to levels. Like they've built this little makeshift studio out of this study. And Tyler and Kevin are like haphazardly putting things together.
Well, Ricky has my respect. I don't know about Tyler and Kevin yet.
They're young. Look, they're young. They'll figure it out. They don't need to be here. They've got better things to do on their weekend.
Ooh, it's their weekend. Okay. I am going to. Are the cameras on, or are they still like setting them up?
So the the mics, so the setup is like live, like you see the computer screens kind of glowing, the microphones are kind of on. They're not like on, like they're not actively recording, but they could be turned on if somebody wanted to attempt to do that.
I do. I want to attempt to make the computer screen start flickering.
Okay. Okay, so here's our first haunting. So what's going to happen is, from a GMing perspective, to peel back the curtain, I have kind of a checklist of things that could happen. I have to look at if it's going to cut off routes of escape, which it's not going to. If it fundamentally changes something, I'm going to say it doesn't. I don't think this fundamentally changes something. And if does it affect more than one sense? I don't think so. I think this is strictly a visual thing, but it can't. And can it be sensed by every mortal present? Yes. Everybody that's in that room is going to be able to see that. So I'm going to say, so the number of successes you're going to want to roll is one plus one plus one per question answered yes, plus a few for judgment. So I'm going to say this is 2 successes.
Okay.
And a success is you're going to roll any number of 6-sided dice you want, and a result of 4 to 6 is a success.
All right, let's see if I can make this work. All of them are above 4. I have a 4, a 5, and a 6.
Okay, brilliant. So what I'm going to say is the screen is flickering. I think Kevin is going to plug something in and sees that and kind of like starts tapping the computer as it starts like kind of flickering and flashing. Calls over Tyler and is like, what's going on here? And because you rolled 1 extra success, I'm going to say you've gotten exactly what you've wanted. You've started to make the screen flicker and everyone has noticed. You can also do 1 additional thing of your choice.
Let's see. Is there a do they have a tape recorder with them?
I think I'm going to say they don't, but a recording program is up. So like a GarageBand or a Reaper is up and a recording can be like activated.
I want it to start recording, assumedly like start recording on its own.
Okay. Yep. And so they're kind of tapping like the monitor itself. Like it's the battery and it starts recording, and that like they kind of like jump back a bit because they're like, I didn't touch it. Did you touch it? You saw that I didn't touch it. I was touching the other. Yeah, I did. I saw you touching the laptop. Oh, come on. You saw me touching the monitor. And they're kind of like doing a little bit of like slap fighting again with each other as they're like kind of like, and so they're like, well, just stop the record. Stop. And so they kind of like hit the space bar. Does the recording stop when they hit the space bar to pause it?
Can I say no?
Yes, you can absolutely say no.
I want them to try a few times and like just so that they know that it's not like a technical glitch.
I think that's exactly what happens. I think they step back and they're like, okay, that's fine. Computer glitches happen, right? Like it took a while to load. You're right. Yeah, absolutely. Right. It took a while to load. And then they both like stop and look at that laptop and both kind of like creep away as slowly as they can to the Ricky, I'm going to say take 2 fear dice.
Okay, and I think the rules say that when I roll, every success I roll, I have to take those die out of my dice pool.
That is correct.
So I put 1 back, basically.
Yes. And what was the number? So you rolled 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
You had 2 black dice. And
1 white die.
So the primary... So the way that it manifests is with sorrow. So let me ask you, what happens when you successfully haunt is the highest, it's the highest single die indicates the way your ghost powers manifest. So what die color was that 6?
Black.
So what sorrowful detail infuses this technical glitch? Like what sorrowful thing is either on the recording or a message briefly appears on the laptop screen? Like what sorrowful detail inhabits this haunting effect?
My comedy brain wants to say 404 error not found. But my horror brain says that there is someone crying in the recording.
Well, Jeff's brain says it can be both.
It could be both.
Yeah.
I think yeah.
If it says it says like they hit the spacebar a bunch and like an error message pops up that's like recording not found, and then it starts to play and they hear that crying.
Oh, I love that.
And that's what sends them like straight out of the room. They're like, nope, not for us, not right now. And then they go and they get Ricky, and Ricky sits down, they put on their headphones, and they start to hit the recording, and they're like, there's nothing here. It's telling me there's an error. It's telling me there's no audio recording. Why don't... Guys, like, take this seriously. Like, if you want this course credit, you can take this seriously.
Oh, no, they're doing it for course credit.
And Kevin and Tyler are both like, well, I mean, you're not exactly paying us. And Tyler's like, don't say I'm not. I'm buying lunch and food, and I'm doing everything I can to take care of the both of you. Do not say that I am not. I was an intern and it sucked and I hated it, so I'm doing everything I can to not make your lives miserable. I just need you to not make my life miserable in return. Can you do that? Can you do that for me, Tyler and Kevin? And they both step back. If you get us each a pizza, then yes. Ricky just like head in hand, just like, all right, get in the car. You will each get a small pizza. I swear to everything that is good in this world that I'm going to make it through this week. And they climb into the car and drive like that. The car with the three of them drives off, heading into town to get 3 individual pizzas.
If only they knew what they were in for.
If only they knew.
So now the study is empty, right?
Yes. Would you like to take any dice from that, or move on, or continue to investigate?
I think, well, I took 2 fear die from the haunting, right?
Yep.
So I don't know. I think that carries on out from the scene.
Cool.
I'm very interested in this guy, Chaz.
Okay.
And I want to go see if he's still on the phone.
He is on the phone. His demeanor has changed 100%. He is in like a standing closet. Like he has basically locked himself in the closet. You go through the wall, and like he is hunched over. All of his like posture and bravado is gone. He's just like, no, I know. Believe me, I know. I understand. Look, I understand. I get it. This needs to be a hit. You know, season 1 was big. We can do bigger. We can make this into something. Believe me, this is going to be, the ROI is going to be considerable on this. And I need you to take a step back and let me do my job, because no, I know. I'm sorry. That was an overreach. I apologize. Okay. No, you're right. Sounds good. I will make sure that we stay on track. The 7 days is what we've been given. We will not go a day over that. Okay. Great. Sounds good. Thanks so much, Rick. Hangs up the phone and like visibly just like kind of hand shaking a little bit, puts away his phone. It's just like 7 days. We can record a season in 7 days. That's stranger things have been done. Bit more demanding productions have been done. We can do that. Your job depends on you being able to do that, and you are a good producer. You can do that. Okay. And he adjusts and he like bursts out of the closet like, all right, everyone's gone.
So I do know what he wants. I feel kind of bad for him. I know we've all been on that work crunch.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
We've all been there.
And I think, okay, well, you know, I do feel kind of bad for him. Might as well give him, you know, what he needs.
Mm-hmm.
I want to knock on the wall beside where he's standing.
Okay.
Now that he's seen that there's no one around him, I want to knock on the wall.
All right, and I'm gonna say take an extra white die. I think he's visibly a little bit shaken by like that call. I think I'll let you take a white die for that.
All right, that makes sense. All right, so I'm just going to knock on the wall beside him. How many successes would you say that requires?
I'm going to say that probably only requires one success because he's the only one here.
Right. Okay, one success.
All right.
And it was the black die, so
All
sorrow.
Right. So what sorrowful? You knock on the door. You knock on the wall. He kind of like sits up and like looks and like kind of like with a very obvious sheen of fake bravado, like it's like pipes. And what sorrowful detail is added to that?
Well, I knock on the wall right beside the closet where he was standing in, and I like standing right beside him. I want to there's a very heavy sense of sadness just in this moment. It's there and he feels it and it weighs heavy on his heart for a few seconds for reasons he can't really explain before it lifts.
And he hears the knock and he feels that heaviness and he kind of like looks like, his eyes are dinner plates for a half second. This is pipes. I should go talk to Marsha. And he like kind of quietly like puts the phone away and goes and like peeks into the, like you see him kind of walk off and like peek into the bedroom as Mags, who is the younger woman taking photos, is still like wandering around halls snapping photos. Do you want to go check in with Chaz and Marsha or follow Mags around?
Oh man, I'm very invested in Marsha and Chaz, and I don't know much about Mags, but I can think of some good evidence for Mags to get. Let's follow Marsha and Chaz. I want to see what they're going to talk about.
And Chaz kind of like sits down, like his shoulders are still kind of sagging. He kind of like, he plops down right on the bed, like not a moment of hesitation. And it's like, hey, how you doing, champ? You doing good? You feeling okay? You feeling like we could do something here? And she kind of is like, yes, Chaz, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling like season 2 is going to be, what did you say? What did you make me say in the trailer? A thrilling ride, a thrilling look into the forgotten parts of the American paranormal. You gotta fire you gotta like talk to your writing crew. That is a lot to take in. And he's like, you know what? They handed over the script. We went through 4 rounds of revisions. That is the best we could come up with. She's like, that's fine. Okay, yeah, well, we can work with this. And he's like, I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know that you prefer to work in the bullpen. I know that you prefer to handle a lot more of this, and I know this is probably a little more theatrical than you had in mind, but I just wanted to make sure that you felt like you were still going to be able to deliver the kind of quality work you delivered before, because I think, you made this show a success, and I want to make sure. And she's like, no, a team made this show a success, Chaz. Like, Ricky made this show a success. Mags made this show a success. She tweeted it. Her tweets went viral every single time. Like, everybody made this a success. All I did was sit down in front of a mic and tell a story. So, yes, I understand that you feel bad, that I am unhappy, and you want to come try and assuage my guilt or whatever, but I'm fine. I promise you I'm fine, and I don't need you hovering over me trying to make nice with me right now. And Chad's like, okay. That's fine. I'm glad you're feeling okay. I just wanted to give you the check-in. And he kind of hands up a little bit, almost dismissively, kind of hands up, is like, all right, if you need anything, let me know. I think the gang is out getting lunch. I'm assuming they're bringing stuff back. Shoot Tyler or Carl. It's Kevin, Chaz. Tyler or Kevin a note, and they'll give you they'll pick you up something. I'm sure they've got everything on lock. Just make sure that they get you something, because you're the star. and kind of like walks out, like really feeling like he did his job.
I would like to witness who harbors a secret here between these two.
I think the person harboring a secret is definitely Chaz, and I think that secret is Chaz like kind of stops for a moment, and like you're in the hall, you see Chaz, he leans against the door, and like Marcia kind of goes back to doing her thing, and when he's pretty sure he's out of earshot, he leans against the wall and he's like, "If you don't do this, you're fired, Marcia. Everything's on the line, Marcia. There was like 8 things you were supposed to say, Chaz. All of them to Marcia, who was right there. Fuck. It's fine. It's gonna be set. The show's gonna be great. Everybody's gonna do great. It's a team effort. We're all gonna be fine. And he like wipes some sweat from his forehead and like kind of just comes back, like goes back down the stairs and like plops down on a couch.
Would you say that the exchange between them was at all emotional?
I would say it was I would say there was some anger between them, coupled with probably some more present fear or sorrow. I'll leave it up to you between Chaz, either sorrow that he didn't say anything or fear that he genuinely thinks there's a chance that everyone loses their jobs.
I think he's definitely scared.
All right, then
right
I'd say
now.
take a white die and a red die.
All right. And so I watch him leave. I float back into my bedroom where I start fiddling with the tape recorder that she has.
All right. I'm gonna still say one success. This is still, I think, one success. So how many dice are you gonna roll here?
I rolled 3.
Okay.
I got a 3, a 4, and a 5. So
all
2
right.
successes. And the highest one was the white die, so fear.
Okay. So what do you accomplish? What additional benefit do you gain from that? And what terrifying detail is reflected in your action?
Well, I start messing with the tape recorder. Is the tape recorder like a the one from the 90s where you press the button and it starts recording?
It's got to be. It's got to be an old school. It's got to be.
Yeah, it's for the aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
I press the record button and I start trying to talk into it.
Mm-hmm.
So what she hears upon playback is a woman's voice, but it's definitely not a natural speaking tone, enough that it causes you to feel that shiver up your spine that just something is not right here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I hate that, and it's very good. And I think she notices this when she goes to grab it, and like it's already like going, like she sees the wheels of the tape, and so she picks it up and holds it for a moment, and she's like, and she hits stop and hits playback and hears all of this, and is visibly like, she lets it play through. She gives it like 10 seconds of silence, like she's holding it. She lets it have like 10 seconds of silence. Hits record again. Testing. This is Marcia Chang, production diary day 0. Just checking in. Just moved into the room. Just doing a quick check-in. Just wanted to test my tape recorder. Hit stop. Plays just that section again. And it comes through crystal clear. And that's when she like drops it. And it like almost breaks. But then she like catches it. Picks it back up. And it's like, I should probably talk to someone about this. I'm not, and she's like, I don't want it to be Chaz, and Ricky's out with lunch. Hey, Mags? Mags comes, like, not quite skipping, but, like, definitely bopping into the bedroom. Just, like, on a cloud, really. Just having a great day. Pops her head in, like, Sup, boss? What's good? And without saying a word, Marsha plays back the audio, and Marsha, like, almost goes to take a picture because she's like, this is a really iconic shot. Like, Marsha Chang with the recorder is like, maybe not right now. What am I listening to? Is your tape recorder broken? Oh, no, that audio sounds fine. Ooh. And there's just, like, silence. They're just looking at each other and, like, dead silent. She's just holding the recorder in hand, playing it again and again. You know, completely, like, blank look on her face. And Mags is just holding the camera, like, around her chest, like, not really, like, just kind of holding it out into space. And it's like, they're both just, like, listening again and again and again.
And as they're doing this, I'm looking into, like, the lens of the camera.
Mm-hmm. You're getting, like, a great, you're looking into the lens of the camera, like, you're seeing camera. If you're looking through the viewfinder, you're getting, like, a great shot of, like, the side of Marsha's coat and then, like, the edge of the bed. Like, it's just kind of off into nothing.
And do I manage to unsettle Mags with my weird voice?
Oh, for sure. She was coming in kind of, like, flippantly, and hearing this has made her stop and, like, completely, like, lose track of work, and she seems to really like her job.
The more they listen to it, would they maybe be able to make out a word?
Yeah, for sure.
The word that they are able to make out is couch.
Couch. I think it's Mags that's like, couch. That was couch. That was couch. That was couch.
I'm, like, cheering in the background. I'm like, yeah, she figures it out.
And, like, so now they're, like, crouching down, like, in between it, like, playing it back, like, couch, shit, couch, go, shit, okay, yeah, let's go, couch. This is, and like they almost burst toward, like, out of the bedroom towards the couch in the study where Chaz is currently just, like, completely zoning out, and they stop and they're like, this is ridiculous, right? Like, this is, we're not about to, and that's when they burst through the door and down to the couch. And I think they get down there, and they shake Chaz, who is, like, taking sort of a daydream nap. They shake him, and they start to play the recording, and that's when the door opens, and that's when kind of everyone else kicks open the door, carrying six small pizzas, and Chaz is like, why did you buy 6 small pizzas instead of 3 large pizzas? It had to be cheaper. It had to be cheaper. Ricky said that we could each get our own, and we figured everybody should also get their own, because otherwise that didn't seem fair. You know what? Great job, everybody.
They're all just trying their best.
They're trying their best, and that's important sometimes. So at this point, they're all in the room together. If there's any questions you want to ask, they're just kind of all sitting around, just swapping stories. I think Mags and Marsha are both, like, sitting on, like, the table, the chairs that they brought in, like the recording chairs, and just, like, they have not stopped looking at that couch for probably the last 3.5 slices.
It's very old. It's moth-eaten. There doesn't seem to be anything special about it, but that recording for sure said couch.
It said couch. And I think there's periodically moments where, like, they just look at each other and they look at the couch and they're like, is that? Yeah, I mean, it seems to be the only couch, right? It's gotta be. No, just enjoying the pizza. I can't believe you remembered that I love anchovies. I can't believe that you remembered that. It's really thoughtful detail.
Who feels most confident here?
Who feels most confident here? That's a great question. I think it's probably either Ricky or, in this instance, Mags. It's either Ricky or Mags. Mags in the certainty that she heard the word couch. Ricky really feels like they are professional and they are good at their job and they are capable of like turning this production around. And Ricky has not been directly exposed to anything other than hearing some spooky stories from the interns. So they're like, this is gonna be fine. This is the day on the job. If we can get through this, we'll all be fine. But Mags is like, even more so than Marcia, who's like trying to enjoy her anchovy pizza, Mags is like laser vision.
Now that I know I have her attention, I want to try to cast... Is there anyone sitting on the couch, first of all?
Probably. I'm gonna say I think the interns are on the couch, and I think there was a moment where like they went to sit on the couch, and Marcia and Mags both went no, but like they were already like plopped down by the time they tried to speak up.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're like looking at the tape recorder and looking at the interns and looking at the couch and being like, we should tell them, right? Like do we do it during lunch? That feels like a good time to do it, right? But the interns are on the couch.
Okay. Trying to think if I could get any dice from that one. Okay, let's see. What do I want to do? I want, now that I know that she's paying attention, I want to make it look like, so like this floor, like it used to be a kind of hardwood, but it's obviously, starting to fall apart. The boards are creaky. There's like gaps between them. I want to make it look like at that spot, like right where the couch is kind of resting above the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make it look like there's blood coming from the space in between the tiles.
Okay. I'm going to say, I think this fundamentally changes something. I think this is, unlike the other unlike everything else, I think there is no way that this doesn't get interpreted as like a supernatural incident. So I'm going to say this does fundamentally change something. I'm going to say you need 2 successes to make it happen. If you get 3 successes, everybody can see the blood. If you only get 2, then Mag sees it and no one else does.
Okay.
4 or more. If you roll 4 or more dice and get 4 or more successes, then you can add other additional details. But that feels like the difference between 2 and 3.
Okay, so I had 3 dice, and I rolled 3 dice, and I got 2 successes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So I think Mags is watching, and like Marcia is like trying to is leaning in, pizza, like half-eaten slice in her hand. She's like, so we should tell everybody, right? Like we should play we have it. We should. And Mags just points and screams. It's like blood, ah! And like totally falls back in this like kind of crappy office chair. Like the wheels just come out from under her. And she wipes out, and everybody like stops and looks, and she is pointing, and there's like nothing there that anybody can see except for her. But she's watching this pool of blood fill out. Now, what was your high dice?
It was fear.
Perfect. That works then. I feel like a horrifying pool of blood fooling is a pretty fearful reaction.
Yeah.
That tracks. So yeah, I think she is like up against the wall and like no one else is seeing it. So I think Tyler, I think Ricky stands up and like they are furious. Like they are, take a red die because their anger is immediate of like, Mags, what the fuck? We spent like an hour setting this up, and you just wiped out. And we have to check the computers now. We probably have to recheck all the sound levels. Like, Christ, what is going on? And she's like pointing, and like Ricky is like throwing up their hands, like what the? And Marcia has to kind of stand up and be like, Ricky, stop it. First off, unprofessional. Second off, stop it. We should have to talk about this. And like gathers everybody. I think I'm trying to decide. I'm trying to decide if Ricky actually stops and listens. I think in this moment they don't. I think they like walk off when they get told off by Marcia. And so it's Marcia, Mags, Tyler, Kevin, and I think Chaz is like coming in from another room where he was on the phone and is like heard this whole argument go down and is like peeking his head in just in time to hear the recording with the garbled speech and the word couch, and Marcia's just playing it again and again and periodically playing her audio to show that it's not the tape recorder because Kevin asks like 3 times. And Marcia has to keep being like, no, Kevin, I am trying to listen. It's here, Kevin. It's here. It's right here. And finally, like, I think Ricky does come in and apologize. I think there's a moment where, like, in the middle of one of the recordings, they come in and they're like, I'm sorry. I don't know why I blew up. That was What the fuck is that? And, like, there's definitely, like, there's a moment, I'm going to say take a sorrow dice. Take a black dice, because there's definitely a moment where, like, Ricky is, like, visibly, like, upset that they exploded, and they're like, this isn't supposed to be that kind of production. I'm sorry, before they get kind of roped into the recording. But now everyone is gathered around this recording and is hearing this. Everyone is, and Mags is still just, like, pointing and is, like, now, like, under the couch, like, feeling around as Marcia's trying to kind of corral everyone else. I think the only person not here is Chaz, who is kind of, like, saw everyone kind of huddling around Marcia's tape recorder and just kind of rolled his eyes and walked off.
So she's feeling around under the couch?
Yeah, she's feeling around under the couch.
She would be able to feel a spot on the floor where the floor is slightly raised.
Oh. She feels that, and she's like, she kind of like looks at Kevin and Tyler, who are kind of like enthralled by the recording. Because I think they kind of start elbowing each other, and Kevin turns to Tyler, like, it's like the recording. And they're both like hitting each other a little bit, and Ricky's like, oh, they did mention a recording. They mentioned it like 8 times in the car. They were convinced that a thing happened. I listened and there was nothing. And so Mags like gestures to them and like is like, move the couch. And so they being the interns whose job it is to move things, they dutifully move the couch out of the way.
As they move the couch out of the way, Mags is able to see, kind of now that there's more light and it's not obscured by shadow, that it seems like the floor was torn up and then very shoddily put back together.
I think Mags like kind of stands up and steps back, and like everyone turns to Marcia, and Marcia's like, Mags, go get your camera. Tyler and Kevin, can you check the shed in the back and see if there are shovels or anything? There's something under that couch. And I think as all of this is happening, like, I think Ricky is like dead silent. Like, they're just kind of quietly like, they mentioned it like 8 times. They mentioned this like 8 times, and I didn't listen. They mentioned like, I could have just listened. I could have just believed them, and they were really. Marcia puts a hand on their shoulder. It's like, it's okay. Why would you listen? Because we've been making this fucking ghost story podcast for an entire season, and we didn't listen. And she's like, it's okay. It is okay. You have to be skeptical of this thing. They were all just nonsense stories before. This is different. And I think they come in with shovels. And I think they come in with shovels. They start to kind of like gesture towards tearing up the floor. And they hear, what the fuck are you all doing? And Chaz is like jaw agape in the doorway to the study. Just like, oh, why are you tearing up the studio? and he starts just unloading. He's like, "Put those shovels away, you children!" Marsha, was this you? Are you trying to sabotage my production? And I think I'm gonna say take 2 red dice. Because Marsha and Chaz go the hell at it. Like, they start unloading.
Does he seem like he wants to stop them from tearing up the floor?
Oh, yeah, for sure. He wants everything put exactly back where it was and for production to continue because they only have a week. I
want to go up to him and I want to push him.
Ooh. Oh, that's good.
I'm angry at the thought that I'm so close and he wants to stop them. And I need to get him out of here, so I want to push him as hard as I can.
I'm going to say that's going to take 3 successes.
Okay, I'm going to roll all my dice then.
All right.
3 successes, 2 failures.
Okay, perfect. What was your high dice?
Black.
So what is the sorrowful detail as he goes flying into a wall. Like, his imprint is in this wall.
He can, as I push him, he can hear kind of in one ear, and seemingly on one ear only, a woman's voice saying, "Don't."
Ooh, I like that. That's very good. That's very, very good. So he gets slammed into the wall. I think I'm going to give you immediately 2 white dice. And I think I'm going to add a complication for you that I think Tyler and Kevin just bolt. They this was all kind of like spooky before, but now they both just scream, "Murder ghost! Murder ghost!" And like they are just scrambling in either direction. They are both out one door each. You then watch them, like you then see as the ghost, you see them run out the front door and the back door. You then watch Kevin, who ran out the back door, run around the side of the house, which makes you wonder why he didn't just run out the front door. Meet with Tyler. They both get into a car, and like they are just hauling out of there. And the remaining 3, Mags and Marsha and Ricky, are just like, "Yeah, no, that's fair. They didn't sign up for this. That they're not getting paid for this. That's fine. That's fair. I would have done the same thing. I was an intern once. Honestly, if this had happened, I probably would have made the same reaction."
Knowing that I have, as the entity, created a more positive connection with Mags, I want to have her hear me crying.
Okay.
As if to express to her that I didn't mean to hurt him. I was just scared.
That's fine. I'm going to say that's 1 success. I think that's only 1 success. Because it's only going to be sensed by Mags. It's only going to affect 1 sense. It's not going to fundamentally change something, and it is not cutting off routes of escape.
Okay, I rolled 2 dice, and I got both of them. One was a 4 and one was a 6.
Okay, so what was that high dice?
White sphere.
All right. So she hears you crying, and I think she like pauses. I think Chaz is like pulling out the phone to call the police, and she's like, "Stop it. Stop it right now, Chaz." And Chaz is like, "You don't fucking tell me what," and she slaps the phone out of his hand and it like breaks on the ground. And he's like, "Well, that's coming out of your paycheck. She's fine.
My favorite human."
And I think Marsha's like, "Chaz, this is what is happening. You asked for a story, and we are watching a story unfold. You said it yourself. I am the star. I am the reason this was successful." And I think take a red die, as I think Ricky, they hear those words and they're like, "You fucking said what?" And Marsha smirks a little bit, and take a black die as well, as I think like his entire crew turning against him. Chaz starts to realize that he's in the wrong a little bit and kind of like sinks away and like doesn't admit it, but like kind of slinks away to let them do what they need to do. And Mags and Ricky look at each other and they're like, all right, I guess. But like by the time they look at each other to go to grab shovels, Marcia is already like tearing the absolute living hell out of this floor.
It's not that hard to tear apart because of the age.
Mm-hmm.
And, it wasn't the put back together. It seems like whoever tore the floor up and put it back together was like, oh man, I can't do this all right now. And just like put the couch on top of it in order to make it look like there wasn't anything wrong with the floor.
Sure.
And so she manages to tear the floor up. And there is a little indent in the dirt of where a foundation of the house would be.
Mm-hmm.
But instead there's just a hole there. And in the hole, there is an axe with dried blood on it. And the axe is laying on top of a blanket.
And I think Marcia like climbs down and like goes to pick up both and just hears over her shoulder like, stop, don't. And she's like, Chaz, I swear, gloves. Fingerprint, and like she like raises up a hand as if on instinct to catch the two rubber gloves or the two like latex gloves that he has tossed in her direction. She's like, I'm glad you're back on the winning team, Chaz. And he's like, this is certainly a story, and it's certainly going to unfold. And I think
I'm gonna make them so much money.
I think they grab the axe and they grab the blanket and they're like, so. What like, so I guess that confirms the ghosts? I mean, like, it was just supposed to be like, this is a creepy place, what could have happened here? I guess grab any records you can find in the place and we'll see what we can piece together.
They, as she lifts up the axe and then picks up the blanket, underneath the blanket, there are bones.
Oh. And like she kind of like take a fear dice as she like visibly like leaps back. This was a reporter that never expected to actually come across a murder, and here she is not only come across it, she's literally unearthed it. So she is like backing up and she's like against the wall of this hole. Ricky and Mags help her up. Chaz is like, well, we should call somebody, right? Like this is we should talk to somebody. And they're kind of like looking at each other and they're like, I think there's a moment where they pause and they're like, I think we have to. And Chaz kind of like goes up to Mags and goes up to Ricky and says like, get everything you can, every book, every photo, every file. We can construct the events. I know that the plan was to just like talk to people and get an idea. This has changed the production. And Marcia's like, there's not going to be a production. We settle this and then we go and we do the season my way. We go back to what we did, knowing that whether or not the studio thinks so, whether or not KACL thinks this was a successful project, we know that this was a success. Are we all in agreement? And like Chaz swallows, take a fear dice as Chaz like swallows his terror at the idea of this production not going off. And Ricky's like, this is not the story that we tell on air. And Mags is like, Mags actually says nothing, and they have to kind of like jab her in the ribs a little bit, like, Mags. And she's, I'm sorry, I was deleting photos. Did you not see that I was working? I'm 3 steps ahead of you. It's fine. And she's like, done. All the photos are gone. And Chaz is like, all right. I mean, you had a file of one-off episodes. We could probably string a pretty compelling season out of that. And
before she deletes the last photo, can I try to manifest in it?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to say that is 2 successes.
I mean, like, you can up the difficulty if you want. I'm talking like full body apparition.
I think that's I think three is I think two is the right. No, I'll say three. I think three is right because this is going to change everything. This is going to change something.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 out of 6 successes.
Okay. Well, if you want to add some additional beneficial details, some additional things that they glean from this photo, you may. What was your high dice?
My highest dice was I got 2 6s. So 1 was sorrow and 1 was fear.
Okay, so fear is white. So sorrow wins over fear. So what is the sorrowful detail they see in the photo first and foremost?
So we'll say that she took a picture of the floor, like as they started to open it, and I appear in the photo, and I am a full-bodied apparition, and I have my my arms outstretched, and I the most noticeable thing about me, not only that I'm appearing as like in full detail, not just an orb, not just a blur, but as like with human features.
Mm-hmm.
The most notable thing about me is that I don't have a head.
I think Mags would drop the camera were she not a responsible photographer with a neck strap securely in place. It falls and it kind of like her whole body kind of sags as this big heavy DSLR kind of like drags her down for a split second. And she's like, I'm not going to delete all the photos. I'm not gonna. And she kind of shows everybody this photo, and Chaz faints. Chaz is the one that faints in this shot in the horror movie. This is the moment where Chaz faints. And I think what other valuable information, because you got some extra successes, do they glean from this?
So not only do they glean that I was decapitated and where I'm buried, and that I was obviously murdered.
Mm-hmm.
The details are there's enough detail in the clothing that I'm wearing and to link me to photos in the house.
Mm-hmm.
As a person who disappeared 50 years ago that just no one bothered to go looking for.
I love that.
And that's where they can start looking to solve my story.
And I think that is exactly what happens, right? I think it is that they go in and they piece all of this together. And like the second season of the podcast happens. It is fine. It's people say that the first season is better, and they're probably right, but that's because the first season was made with a little more purpose after everything that happened here today. But like the Quiet Project is like the four of them like all like piecing all of this together and like quietly like gathering the evidence, making these connections, like solving like the murder eventually gets solved. I think they piece together the clues of everything that like they pull together everything. This full production, the week that they've rented this cabin is spent like, you know, grabbing every photo, reading every letter, like tracking. They do all of this and they don't record a second of it because it's like, we're doing this for our sake, not for the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I think unless there is more that you feel needs to be done to complete your mission.
As soon as they, in reality, what was the resolution was just me being found. I had spent so long in a feeling of being incomplete, of being held here, of being confused, of somewhere in between. I'm not sure if I'm alive or dead. And finally being found, and then them going the extra mile to help solve my murder definitely helps me move on. And I would say that the next time that they come to the house after they've solved my murder, there is no longer any trace of that sadness that Chaz felt when he was here the first time. And everything seems to be at peace.
And I think the closing shot, if I may add a supernatural incursion, if I may throw a haunting in for you for just a brief moment. I think 3 cars pull up. Some time has passed. Marcia is no longer, it's now summer, and she steps out and she is wearing like a little bit more comfortable clothing. Like, she's not quite as like businessed out, but she steps out and like people come in and they start like, but behind them, not like a moving a construction like vehicle pulls up behind them, and like Chaz is standing next to her. Like, Chaz gets out and is standing next to her, but like they don't, the way that their bodies are like, the way that their postures connect to each other, they're not like, they don't feel like boss and employee anymore. She just like, so this is where you're doing it, huh? And she's like, I felt like with the podcast being where it is, we needed a dedicated studio, and I think this will be a good place for it. And like, she's like, we're going to preserve, and she kind of turns to the construction crew, and she's like, we preserve as much of the decor, as much of the style as possible. I really just want to reinforce things and also soundproof the study. It's a really nice space for it. My sound designer will be here momentarily. They're a perfectionist, just so you know. They are a perfectionist. They're going to probably boss you around. It's fine. They're going to buy everybody lunch. They've got an unlimited budget. Try to think of like the fanciest thing that you could possibly want to eat. That way we can kind of like, it's kind of a prank we pull on them at this point. So just know that. And they step into, and before like everything kind of goes underway, she kind of stands in the study for a moment. What moment does she see that like the two of you make brief contact before you fade into the ether?
I want to be, there's a breeze that passes through the study, even though the window's not open and the door to the outside isn't open either. And there is a small ball of light for an orb from where I'm sitting on the couch. And this time, my head is attached.
And I think Marcia smiles and like gives you that kind of 2-finger salute, and is like, "It's nice to meet you. It's nice to see you." And then everybody comes in, and it's all of the hustle and bustle of a construction crew, of a renovation crew. And she kind of turns around, and with a heavy sigh, she starts like talking, and we get like kind of a long pan out. We see Ricky's car pull up. 2 more completely indistinct looking interns funnel out of the back seat.
Tyler and Kevin didn't make it.
They got their course credit. It's just their semester's over now. And we pan out. We follow an orb of light that slowly like wafts away on the breeze, and that is game.
Oh, that was so good.
That was wonderful. Oh my goodness, that was delightful. I'm overjoyed.
That was so much fun.
Oh, yeah, it was great. I love this game. I adore it. I love that we're working together, but in a way that like there's points where we're kind of at odds, but we're also ultimately like trying our best to like work together.
Right.
It's very good. Like, the whole structure of the game is very good. Like I was saying before we got on mic, the fact that like there are different things that we're both after, and we're trying to like find our best way to convey those things to each other is extremely good.
Yeah, I really like that part of the game. I like that it's not like a GM and player so much as it is 2 people world building, and one of them happens to be a ghost.
Yeah, and I really, it just was great. I liked so much. This was so good. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for coming on the show and playing it with me. This was a delight.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm smiling ear to ear. Before we wrap up, where can people find you and your work online?
I am on Twitter at by_rogues, byrogues on Twitter, byrogues no underscore on Instagram and Tumblr and pretty much everywhere else. And then our brand's website is infinitybreak.net, where you can find all of our shows and a whole bunch of stuff that I work on and the rest of my team as well.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was an absolute pleasure. And for now, I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap things up. Take it, future me. Thanks, past me. And thanks again to Nikki for coming on the show. That game was really, really good. It went in really unexpected directions, but it also went like exactly where I wanted it to go. I could not be happier with that game. Be sure to follow Nikki on Twitter at by_rogues. Be sure to check out Legends of Laia. It's a great show. I really can't recommend it enough. I think if you like actual play, I think you'll really, really like it. I think you'll gain a lot from it. You can find more information about Legends of Laia at infinitybreak.net. You can go to their YouTube channel and watch older episodes. You can listen to the podcast version wherever podcasts are found. They recently retooled the show to be podcast-centric, and I think that's going to make the show even better. Head to the show notes, check out Legends of Laia, follow Nikki on Twitter. I think everything here is great. Anyway, while you're on Twitter, you can follow us at Party of One Pod, like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/partyofonepodcast. Head to our Discord at bit.ly/partyofonediscord. Head to our merch store at bit.ly/partyofonemerch. You can support the show financially at patreon.com/JeffStormer. You can also leave us a nice review on Podchaser. It helps us find new listeners. It makes me really happy. It gives us nice things that we can put on press kits and stuff. It's really, really helpful. And also you can support the other show that I produce every single week, All My Fantasy Children, a character creation, storytelling, and world building podcast on the One Shot Podcast Network, in which every episode my best friend Enter Catano says, and I take a listener submitted prompt, we spin it into an original fantasy character, and we populate a shared universe one story at a time. Party of One is produced and edited, as always, by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. All music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Megaran featuring the D&D Sluggers, and the Party of One logo is by Evan Rowland. If you'd like to inquire about advertising rates, coming onto the show as a guest, or press coverage of the show, you can email me at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. And I think that's it. I think that's all we do here. So until next time, thank you so much for listening. Remember to fight the forces of fascism every single day. Remember that self-love and self-care are radical and defiant acts of resistance. And as always, party on, everybody.